All right, we are here after our big newsy interview with former Vice President Kamala Harris, and who better to be here with us than Sunny Hostin?
Thanks for that, Brian.
Of course. We're going to start with the infamous View moment, but here I'm going through the headlines as I often do after.
Yes, you do like to go through the
I
headlines.
do. I like to see
show.
people's takes on things, and this is the headline of the Wrap. The View's Sunny Hostin breathes a literal sigh of relief when Kamala Harris says her question wasn't a tipping point of the election.
So, is that a headline?
That's a headline. A literal sigh of relief, and I believe you did.
I did. I'll be honest with you. Since I asked the now infamous question, what would you do differently than Biden has done over the past 4 years? And she replied, not a single thing comes to mind. Or I'm paraphrasing, but I have been mentioned numerous times in books.
Yeah, you're part of history.
I'm part of history. I've gotten threatening messages. I am somehow to blame for the fall of democracy.
You have internalized this in a way that is unfair to you, I think.
People have actually said that I was responsible for the re-election of Donald Trump, that,
I took that back after I said that. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that.
But it really weighed on me, actually. It really did, because I of course didn't mean that. Although I, as I said on the show today, right after she answered that, I knew it. I knew it was a pivotal moment. Much like when you're in trial and, someone is testifying, you take notes about stuff that you're going to hit during your closing arguments. And I would have written that down if I were giving a closing argument. And so I just knew it was a mistake.
There was an audible tension and breath intake behind me from her team when that happened.
Oh,
they were nearby when that happened. I remember it very vividly.
It was obvious, at least to me.
Yeah.
That was really problematic.
Yeah, and she says in the book it took her a minute to realize that.
Yeah,
it was a problem.
she didn't realize it, and you know what I did sigh a sigh of relief, because she told me that I shouldn't burden myself with that.
She tried to. She literally made the motion like you were in a confessional, and she was forgiving you for that moment. Which again, and in the book she's actually very honest and says that she should have had an answer for that. She did have an answer for that, and she didn't use it. It was an
excellent answer, and she didn't use it. And she actually said in the book that as a prosecutor, there's a closing argument that you prepare to give, there's the closing argument that you give, and there's the closing argument that you should have given. And I think she basically implies that she should have given a different answer.
Right.
And she should have, and it was prepared. And I think the reason that she didn't do it is because she interpreted my question somehow as my wanting her to throw Joe Biden under the bus. And she's obviously a very loyal person, but that was not the intent. As you know, Brian, the intent was, I knew what his approval ratings were, and I knew that was the question that she had to distinguish.
I think we knew that
herself.
it was a challenge. It wasn't. You've said it was a layup, and I don't think it was. I think because she is loyal.
Yeah.
It was a necessary question, in my opinion.
It was the only question.
Yes. And one she should have anticipated. And frankly, if you hadn't asked it, someone else would have. On another show, someone else would have. I got a call
from another journalist. Actually, I got calls from several journalists, including Don Lemon, who said that was the question.
Yeah.
And so that made me feel a little bit better for a little while, until James Carville started saying that that's the reason why, she lost.
Well, so the former VP says that she does not think that the View interview tipped the election.
Yes.
Honestly, what do you think?
I think it did.
You think it did? So you think if she doesn't appear on The View that day, she's the president of the United States?
Possible.
Wow. Well, somewhere in the multiverse.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who
knows?
Or if she appeared on the show and answered the question differently, maybe.
Yes.
She also talked about how traumatic election night was. I can only imagine.
That was really, I thought, very honest.
Yeah, and moving, I thought. She talked about grieving it, which I think she's still doing.
I think so, but what I found most interesting is not necessarily grieving for herself, but grieving for the country and what she knew would happen, because I'm sure she read Project 2025. I'm sure she was briefed on a lot of things.
Sure.
She's a student of history. She talks about the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society and how this was a long-standing plan. And those of us that sort of are geeks about this kind of thing, we know that. And I think many of us, myself included, I'm grieving for the country because I knew what would happen, and we're seeing all of it.
It's interesting because there's a lot of, I mean, she clearly expected to win that day based on the way it's presented. And we had heard during Biden's campaign that he was getting different information from the people close to him about how the polls were reading and how things were looking than they actually were.
Didn't we have the Midas Touch guys come on and say that his approval rating was like 5%?
Oh, it was the...
someone came on.
No, the podcasters.
The podcasters.
Pod Save America.
Pod Save America said that it was somewhere around 5%. I mean, I maybe I'm misremembering.
No, it was definitely lower than he was saying. And so I think... I wonder if the internal people knew better and were just trying to keep...
I think he was polling at like a 5% possibility of winning, something like that was really scary.
Right.
If you knew that for the good of the country, you've got to at least tell your running mate, you've got to tell your vice president, and maybe have some really difficult discussions.
I think there is something about if you are someone who's running for president and you believe that you are the person to lead the country, to lead the world, I think there's a part of confidence. I think there's something similar about being a View host. I think you have to have an internal confidence that tells you that I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to make this work. And maybe that's why it's so hard for people to step away when it doesn't look good.
Well, she does write to that, and she says that he had sort of been that politician who had pulled the rabbit out of the hat.
He did it.
So many times. He was always underestimated and
he beat Donald
overperformed.
Trump.
Yeah. So there's every reason to believe that Joe Biden may have felt like, you know what, I can do it. I've done it before, and I'll do it again. But when the numbers and Whoopi infamously always, Whoopi always says, you know, you can't believe the polling, and we know the polling was wrong time and time again. So perhaps he just didn't believe the polling.
Do you remember? Now, did you feel confident that she was going to win that day, or not so much?
I did.
You did. You thought she was going to win.
Yeah. Well, I remember I was in Allentown, Pennsylvania, with like LeVar Burton and AOC. Something that I had never done in my life, actually. And I was there to speak to Puerto Ricans about, you know, supporting her. And I saw just this groundswell of support. Talking about it. It was unbelievable. I didn't see one Trump sign, not one. And I saw, you know, Harris for president signs everywhere, you know, Harris Waltz. So I was pretty confident that she was going to carry Pennsylvania, you know, carry every battleground state, at least the blue wall.
She said that she believes the big reason she lost, or one of the big reasons she lost, was that she just simply didn't have enough time. That the title of her book, 107 Days, speaks to that. In many ways, it was so impressive what she did accomplish in that amount of time. Oh, my
goodness, yes. Raising $1 billion, going state to state to state to state. In her book, she writes about the fact that there were sometimes 5-6 state days. I mean, she left it all on the field. I think that she can be proud of the campaign that she ran. What was also interesting to me is that she reaffirmed today that she has never won as a woman. She has never run as a woman of color. She always runs as the best candidate in a race. And I wonder if that... Had she maybe leaned into the fact that she has a different lived experience as a woman and as a woman of color
than President Biden, or
than President Biden, and then President Trump,
Sure.
I actually think that is a superpower that I have. That I live my life as an Afro-Latina woman with a very different lens, so I can provide a different perspective for a lot of different communities. I don't think that's a liability. And it almost felt to me like she thought that that was a liability.
Well, there was so much there's so much conversation, at least in the press and in these places, about the importance of winning over white men.
Yeah.
That was a big conversation before the election.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that made her kind of try to stay away from...
I don't know. I think that it's a superpower when you can see life differently than other people.
If people are willing to listen.
Sure.
Yeah. She also said, I thought it stood out, that Kamala said she wrote this book because it's important that when history is written, she has a voice in it.
Absolutely.
On a commercial break, I asked her whether or not she had kept a journal at all, because it reads very much like a journal.
Yes.
And she said she didn't. So
Which was smart, because during a Trump administration, that certainly would have been subpoenaed.
I'm sure. But
that's a smart lawyer.
Have you ever kept a journal?
Less so these days.
Yeah. I never have. I always feel like
I did start a journal at Joy Behar's insistence about The View.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. I'd like to subpoena that. Many times in my life, I've looked back and said, oh, I really wish I had done that. But I always feel like I missed all the good stuff.
I haven't missed all the good stuff.
All right. Good to know. Good to know. All right. So we also asked her about her relationship with President Biden, which she says is good. She didn't exactly answer the question I was looking for, which was, how often do you speak? When was the last time you talked to him? Has he read the book?
She did say that they spoke, that they have a sincere, warm relationship. The answer, the question that I don't think she answered was, has President Biden read this book?
Yes, because there are things in it that I think he would either, I wonder, I mean, there are actions that she takes issue with.
Yeah.
That I wonder if they've discussed since then.
I agree. She talks about his team, the fact that they didn't seem to understand that when she was successful, that made him successful as well. There was a lot of tea in this book.
There is a lot of stuff in there, more than I expected, because you think they'll be kind of curated and careful.
Yes.
It's not very careful.
I mean, and one of the things that shocked me, I mean, all the little shocking things, as you see, I've like earmarked. One of the things that when she was given the opportunity to reach out to a couple of people that she wanted to support her, I mean, literally, she writes down in my notes of the call. So she did keep some notes. Barack Obama says, "Saddle up. Joe did what I hoped he would do, but you have to earn it. Michelle and I are supportive, but not going to put a finger on the scale right now." Right. I mean, that's so Obama, right? That was interesting. Bill Clinton says, "Oh my God, I'm so relieved. Send me anywhere. Make that your own campaign." But what was interesting was she also says that Gavin Newsom, hiking, we'll call back. He never did.
Now, so I saw
that was something else.
I saw Gavin Newsom asked about this somewhere, and he said he was vague on the recollections. He said he was hiking and he was reaching out to talk to the Biden people and to the Biden campaign. He was so shocked. He later did do an event with her of some kind. So they did speak again and he did support her. But
he never called her back. I think that is fascinating. This was fascinating. And Pete Buttigieg, who, I'm just such a fan, who was her primary opponent in 2019, says, "You're going to be a fantastic president." And I loved that response. Yeah. So it's just chock full of
No, there's a lot of stuff. And there's a story about that I was taken or surprised with, where President Biden, she says, called her right before she took the stage to the debate with President Trump.
Yes.
And was concerned about reports he'd heard of her bad-mouthing him.
Yes.
And kind of throwing her off her game a little bit right before she went out on the stage, although she did great.
And that's the thing is, when he was here, I asked the question, did you say there should be no sunlight between you?
Yeah.
And he said no.
Yeah.
But then in this book,
she implies otherwise.
Yeah. So, it's going to be a must read. I think it's going to do really well because it's really pretty raw and honest.
I think so.
Yeah.
She also got very animated when she talked about President Trump, which is no surprise.
Yes.
And she said that she doesn't think he's done anything good in 4 years, or nothing comes to mind. She was joking. You're doing a callback, of course. But what did you think of that?
I thought it was honest.
Yeah.
I thought it was really honest, that there just are no redeemable qualities there.
Right.
And I think a lot of the country feels that way.
Yeah, I think there are certainly there are things that people would point to and say, well, there are, fewer illegal border crossings. The way that he's doing it, they might not agree with, but there are things that some would point to. But
I don't know.
Yeah. We talk a lot about the path forward for Democrats.
Yes.
She was very straightforward in saying that she's done with everyone thinking the Democrats need a messiah, but they do need to fight fire with fire.
I love that. Well, I've said that from the very beginning. This when they go low, we go high. No, you meet energy with energy.
Yeah.
If you want to go low, I can go lower. Mm-hmm. And that's the type of energy we need to have. I say when they go low, I become small like an ant and I go to the earth's crust. I mean, that's where I'm at. And I think that's what quite frankly, that's the energy the Democrats are missing.
Well, you see it with Gavin Newsom a little bit.
You see it with Gavin, and I think that's why he's becoming such a superstar, because he's trolling Trump. He's meeting energy with energy. He is unafraid. When you capitulate to bullies, they continue bullying you. You let them take your lunch money, they take it again and again and again. So I think that she realizes that, and I thought she always knew that, because I've known the vice president for a long time. So I am surprised, though, that she finally said, you got to meet that energy.
When we talk about this in the Hot Topics meeting a lot, because there are a lot of topics that come up about what went wrong as opposed to what's going on. I'm so glad
she's just tired of that. Let's stop looking backwards.
Right.
Come on.
Yet her book is also about looking backwards, which is kind of the tricky part.
I think it's less about looking backward, honestly, and trying to sort of learn a lesson from it, and more so for the history books, as she said. I think it's not I should have done this or I should have done that.
That's a really good point, because
think it's different.
It is important to not let other people write history.
Yeah, I think it's very different.
And we're seeing that constantly now, obviously.
We are, and they're rewriting history and erasing history. You can't erase, you can ban this book, but you can't erase it. And I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, I agree with you. Based on everything that's happened since the election and Trump taking back office, where do you think Kamala Harris's voice is most needed? And do you think it's running for office again? Joy tried at the last minute, at my urging, to get her to say it.
Now, she didn't say no.
She didn't say no. And I actually thought she seemed a little flustered in that moment.
She was flustered. Yeah. She didn't say no. She said, I'm on my book tour now.
Yeah, it was very different than when she'd been asked earlier, I think.
Yes, she had been asked earlier, and she said, right now, I think she was on a late night show. It
was on Colbert when she decided not to run for governor.
Yes. And she said she wants to listen more now, and she doesn't want to sort of be in the system. And I can understand that, because as a former prosecutor, as a former senator, AG, she's been in the system, and so she wants to see what's happening from outside of the system. And taking a listening tour, as you know, is something that politicians do all the time.
Right.
And
it's valuable, I think.
It's very valuable, and maybe she's just taking it's a temperature check.
I mean, her name still does come up if you poll people, if you ask who do you see as the Democrats' best hope in 2028.
I mean, she told everyone what was going to happen.
Right.
And so, maybe she does have the...
I didn't get the impression she was done.
Yeah, I didn't either.
No.
I didn't either. She dodged that.
Yeah.
And she's a very careful
Well,
speaker.
She's smart too, and everyone is right now. Nobody's there, but it won't be long before people start declaring they're running for president.
Yes,
It'll be interesting to see.
It will
and coming
be.
on The View to talk about it.
Yes.
I think people are always interested in what happens on the commercial breaks, because we're a live show, as you can tell, and we were talking. You guys were all chatting during the commercial breaks. Anything you can share, or what was that like?
I mean, I did have a personal conversation with her about the fact that I hope that she understood that that wasn't my intention. Was not to provide, give a gotcha moment. That was not my intent.
No, of course.
And she knows that was not my intent, and that made me feel better.
That's good. That's good. The audience was very excited to see her too.
Yeah,
and it's funny because
and actually, let me add to that. She said, I said I've been beating myself up over it, and she said, stop doing that, and so I feel better.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that was good of her.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we're good. Thank you for joining me today, Sunny.
Thank you, Brian.
It's been an exciting week on The View. Tomorrow, I'll be back with Sarah Haynes, and we have Priscilla Presley on the show.
I know.
Which is really interesting.
That is going to be interesting.
Her book
She's
is
got the book.
fascinating, and so there's a lot to come. I'm going to give a little shout out to our wonderful producer, Dana Fisher, who did a great job with this.
Yes, she really did.
Our booker, Todd Polks, who got it done.
Yes.
And happy birthday to my daughter, Grace.
Oh, happy
14
birthday,
years old
Grace.
today. How about that?
You have a teenager.
I have a real teenager now. Oof.
Yeah.
All right.
You've got 4 more years till she's a legal adult.
How about that?
Think about that. I'll just say one thing. My friend Kim told me she's on the struggle bus with adult parenting, as I am as well, and that we now have children, adults' children, that are like toddlers with driver's licenses and passports.
I'm not ready for any of this.
Some of them can drink. That is the exact description for an adult child, ladies and gentlemen.
Hang in there, everybody. We're all in this together, as Whoopi would say. See you tomorrow.